All right, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to have a really fun interactive webinar. I do want to first thank the South Carolina Council of Competitiveness for hosting the webinar. And you are joining the 2020 STEM Educator of the Year STEM Activity webinar, the Wildlife Engineering Design Challenge. I'm Shawn Boger. I'm with the National Inventors Hall of Fame, and we're also the creators of Camp Invention. As a nonprofit, we do have a mission to recognize inventors and invention, promote creativity, and advance the spirit of innovation, which I think we can all say we are getting ready to do. It's been really great to collaborate with this group on the call here today to support the South Carolina STEM Month. We've provided access to STEM and invention education resources. And one of the activities is this Wildlife Engineering Design Challenge. And Tracy Elmore is going to be sharing how she used this challenge to engage her students and kind of take us on the journey of the process in developing this and how her students were part of that process as well. Tracy is an educator at Lugoff Elgin, if I said that correctly, sorry, middle school. She teaches automation and robotics, energy and the environment, and flight and space. And she was named the 2020 South Carolina STEM Educator of the Year. Tracy believes that educators can inspire a student's interest in STEM careers by helping them envision a brighter future. She's worked over the past year educating her teachers on how to teach STEM on a budget, because all students deserve a quality STEM education. Also on the webinar, we have two panelists, Amy Baldwin. Amy's a Gateway to Technology teacher at Oak Brook Middle School. Amy was named the 2021 South Carolina STEM Educator of the Year, the incoming. She is hoping to promote her platform, Changing the Face of STEM, which aims to expose underserved students to the possibilities in STEM as a gateway to expand the diversity of South Carolina's workforce. And we have Chris. Oh my goodness.
It's Byerly.
Byerly, thank you, Chris. We should have confirmed that. But Chris is a Gateway to Technology engineering teacher at Fisher Middle School. He was a finalist for the STEM Educator of the Year in 2020 and a top 10 finalist for 2020-2021 Teacher of the Year. He believes in using project-based learning approach will prepare and enable students with the thinking processes to becoming well-equipped for college, career, and civic life. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy.
Hey, I'm so glad that you're here and that you're joining us this afternoon. I'm eager to share and to learn from everyone about using online resources like the National Inventors Hall of Fame to create lessons and units for our students. And let me share my screen so we will have what we need up. Sorry. And I would like to introduce you to a few of my students. Caitlin Anderson. Caitlin, if you'll just kind of wave. Haley Croft, Abigail King, Olivia Sims, and Abby Shoemake. And I chose females because I want to inspire girls in STEM and help them understand how they can contribute to STEM fields and be empowered to become the world's future problem solver and leaders. And these girls will be able to help inspire other girls to develop their STEM identity in our world. The goals of this presentation are to inspire educators like you to embrace STEM learning and teaching by utilizing online resources like the National Inventors Hall of Fame. In order to design this unit, I used a lesson from the resource section of the National Inventors Hall of Fame website. The lesson is the Wildlife Design Challenge. As I was developing this unit, I researched the South Carolina State Standards on Animals and Plants and discovered that they're spread across the state standards from kindergarten through high school. So this unit is an excellent form of vertical alignment, building off the basic characteristics of animals and plants to demonstrating empathy for preserving wildlife and their habitats, as well as developing knowledge of the many careers that are associated with parks and recreation, and also graphic design. Like Shawn said, the National Inventors Hall of Fame offers 8 programs which connect the world's exceptional U.S. patent holders with the youth of today. And through videos and articles, they provide opportunities for the inductees that they have to engage and inspire the inventors of tomorrow. And they are a game changer for all types of learners and learning interactions that empower students to recognize that STEM will be beneficial in the workforce. I developed the problem into a real-life application by using our own community as a reference point for the design challenge, which helped to bring relevance and meaning for all of our students. And you can see I use Kershaw County because that's where we live. To help the students understand the problem with the engineering design challenge, I read the book The Lorax by Dr. Seuss, using Sora by Overdrive. Using Sora, I was able to share the book with face-to-face students as well as virtual students. Students are able to generate concepts and brainstorm ideas by completing task cards prior to designing a solution. Through Google Meet, my virtual students were able to join in the discussion. I also added a read aloud to the Google Classroom for my self-paced virtual. I used silent graffiti for the Lorax task cards. After we read the book aloud, students responded to questions about the book and the theme of the book through silent graffiti. For example, did the once-ler have feelings about the region and natural resource that he found? How do you think this story would have changed if the once-ler did not invent the super axe hacker? And what lessons do you think the once-ler learned? Students could write or illustrate their responses on the silent graffiti. I also used Jamboard for the silent graffiti, so my virtual students were able to participate in the activity. I added the paper copy on Jamboard so students could collaborate either virtually or face-to-face. Students generated concepts and brainstormed prior to designing a solution using Nearpod. I added videos from thedodo.com where heroes tell stories of animals in need and the humans who give them hope. Students responded to the video clips and we discussed the way they felt at the beginning of the video and at the end of the video. I also added web pages for students to research plants and animals in a wooded area. In addition, I embedded videos from Science Trek to discuss about endangered animals, causes and impacts of habitat loss, and how it affects animals in parks and wooded areas. And of course, we did a Google Meet and added the recording to my Google Classroom for our virtual students. Using Google Meet breakout groups for the mini research, students use bookmark links, South Carolina Discus, World Book Online for safe internet research. And they use Google Slides so both partners, face-to-face and virtual, could work on the same Google slide presentation. The Google slide presentations vary in style and depth of information, which accommodated different learning styles and abilities. I asked the students to cite the sources for the picture and information, differentiating the citation based on the level of learning. Students also use Learning Blade. Learning Blade's full of many opportunities for students to see the importance of STEM career awareness to solve real-world problems. STEM careers are some of the fastest growing and best paying jobs of the 21st century, so utilizing Learning Blade provided meaning and relevance in my curriculum. Through Google Meet groups, students were able to discuss the design sketches for their park. Students used graph paper for their sketch, and virtual students used paper from home, or I packed them for them. Students worked with partners to design their sketches for the wooded area. The graph paper was the correct size for the box top that they were to use for their park. I used a copy paper box top. I explained that they needed to fill the entire sheet. I also reminded them of what was expected, that they needed a pathway for people to use to enjoy nature, some type of water source, and it needs to be eco-friendly and cost-efficient. And we also discussed about the number of animals and plants needed. My virtual students created their sketches in Google slide presentation as they worked with their face-to-face partners. We use Google Meet groups again for the construction of the park so everyone can be involved. Also, I placed the materials needed in the front office for a family member to pick up, or I took it to their home. Some students created animals, plants, and other items for their park using craft supplies such as construction paper, modeling clay, popsicle sticks, pipe cleaners, and many, many more supplies. They also used Tinkercad to create 3D animals for their park. This helps students to become innovators, entrepreneurs, designers, thinkers, and inventors in our technological world. And a funny story about this is Shawn and I were talking about the animals, and I was searching about how much it costs to buy plastic animals. And then I was like, wait, we can 3D print them. So it took me a few minutes to figure that one out. Here's an example of a group working and discussing some issues and solutions that they have. Since this was the first time I presented this unit, the students would share their ideas to make it better. One thing they quickly discovered was we had the number of animals we had, which was originally 15 to 20, we needed to decrease it down to about 5 to 10 for time constraints and all. These are some examples of some of the parks that the students created. The bottom middle is actually from a virtual student that she did at home. Another issue that we came across, and I told the students this was the first time that I was doing this, and any suggestions, any comments that they had to please share, but I had the cost for $60 for their boxes, and we quickly discovered that they needed more money, so we increased the price and came up with $250 to purchase the items that they needed. GNR presented about marine wildlife and habitats. The students investigated what properties are found near the coast, the estuaries. Erica and Kathy asked the students what would happen to animals in their habitat if sea level continues to rise. The students used an interactive map that showed the students how habitats change as the sea level would rise. Students marked the habitats lost due to the rise of the sea level, which showed certain animals losing their homes or food supply, or having to move in order to find food. Through this presentation, Erica and Kathy discussed education, salaries, and roles and careers in the Department of Natural Resources. At the end of the presentation, Kathy showed a diamondback terrapin turtle. She described the characteristics of the turtle, what they like to eat, and where they live. The students enjoyed the presentation, especially seeing the turtle up close. Maybe one day we can go visit them. We also used the uspto.gov so students could research patents and trademarks for their park's name. Students were able to research the name for their park to see if it already had a trademark or a patent. We even talked about how part of the name could be in there. And we had a few that had to change their park name because it was already listed. But this gave the students a great opportunity to kind of see the part of the process of applying for a patent and a trademark. I collaborated with my media specialist, and we co-taught about giving attribution for original work, such as poems, short stories, artwork, their park boxes. We discussed the Creative Commons website, and students were able to create a license for their park. Students were excited to create their license. They said they felt really official, and we have our park prototypes displayed in our media center for others to see. I gave the students a choice to do a social media post or a Flipgrid presentation to educate others about the issue of habitat loss. They chose social media posts because you can connect with more people on social media. I shared with them the website Canva, where students and teachers can create so many multimedia designs and presentations. They were very excited about using this. We discussed what was needed to draw attention to the audience, and The students came up with, like, it needed to grab their attention immediately, or they would just scroll by, needed to have powerful words that would grab the audience attention, as well as being attractive and colorful. Canva is, if you're not familiar with it, it's an easy to use free graphic design software that allows you to create social media graphics with ease. They're able to create social media posts on preserving wildlife and habitats by sharing why we should be concerned, to encourage others to be empathetic to the issues in our world. As another real-world application, students shared their social media interactive posts on our school's Facebook page, and they were able to comment and share in the discussion on habitat loss on social media. They also created posters that were going to hang around the school to start a conversation with their peers about preserving habitat. As a culmination of the unit, students wrote letters to the director of the Kershaw County Parks and Recreation, and they were excited to write these letters, especially when I told them I was actually sending them to him. They put a lot of thought into their letters. You can see that they were explaining the importance of having a good, safe area for animals and people to enjoy. And he actually did write us back. And, he was impressed with their level of thought, their work, their creativity. They had a lot of good points in their letters. He told them that when the Parks and Recreation Department plans the construction of a park, that the points that the students mentioned in their letters are things that they actually take in consideration, which showed the students, real life examples of this. He talked about the removal of trees and preserving habitats for the wildlife, that's important for them to take in consideration, as well as having plenty of trash bins for litter. And he also described to them a new park that we have in the Elgin area that has a walking trail around a pond, a fishing pier, a picnic shelter, dog waste stations. And in this wildlife area, they did not remove a lot of trees, so it's a safe place for animals to roam free and citizens to enjoy nature. He also mentioned to the students that they will take in other considerations that those students wrote in their letters when they build more parks. And he ends by encouraging them to consider a career in parks, recreation, and tourism. And students really enjoyed having this. It gave them that real life application. They kind of felt like they met their goal of what we were doing. Even though my students did not do Flipgrid, I want to touch on it just a little bit in case you're not familiar with it. It is an alternative forum that students can present information. It has some really great stuff in there. And Flipgrid, the Canva allowed my virtual students to join in, as well as Flipgrid will allow your virtual students to share the different parks and social media posts and things like that we did. But Flipgrid allows students to use multiple apps to create projects and complete tasks, which is called app smashing. And it can provide students with creative ways to showcase their learning. My students decided to choose Canva because they felt that people would pay more attention to social media posts. And they also felt like Flipgrid had been kind of overused at our school. A lot of teachers are using them, and they're being, they had created lots of Flipgrids, so they wanted something different. So that's why we went towards Canva with this. But you could use either way or both, or however you wanted to do that. And that does become a problem of different tools that we use, that they do become overused, and students get kind of bored and tired of it. So Chris, I'm excited to hear from you about some of that. They wanted to share on a TikTok. And so we went to our principal to ask if we could do this, and he said yes. And they did a really good job. So I'm going to kind of show y'all that and kind of talk through. If you're not familiar with TikTok, I'll kind of explain that. And this is another game changer in education. There are issues, but guarding those issues, it can happen and be an excellent source. I'm going to go ahead and play it so you can see as I talk. Turn that sound down a little bit. It just has birds humming. But it's a short form video tool, social media platform that perhaps is a very effective way to make learning more interesting to students. They retain more when they have creative ways to demonstrate their understanding of concepts. Teaching and modeling the use of technology, online presence, and digital citizenship. Using the app create a digital culture in your classroom. Collaborating with your media specialist helps to implement these technology tools that we have for students to use to do it appropriately so they're safe and everybody's safe. But using TikTok is a great way for students to channel something they already love into a tremendous learning tool. As you can see, they were using their information that they had learned on that. I'm going to put this slide up. Okay, so if you want my email or anything, I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody, suggestions and comments. And my students even have comments that they want to make the process that we went through, because like I said, I told them that this was our first time that we did this, and I needed their feedback, and so we can make it even better. And I'm looking forward to hearing from y'all as well. So I will stop sharing. Do we want to hear from anybody, students or?
Tracy, I think this looks great. Like I'm sitting here making notes because you always have such great ideas. One thing I've done with Flipgrid, because the same as you, our music teachers and our art teachers have had to use them a lot this year because of all the virtual and things. I like the feature of it where you can have them do a news show. So I had mine do like news broadcasts and sales pitches on it. So since we were not allowed to use TikTok, we did go a little route that way with some other projects. So that's something that you can do. But I like that you gave them the option with the multimedia and Canva, and I like that. I already wrote that down. Stealing that one from you today.
That's good. That's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. I know somebody's probably thinking this. Are you going to share this out with anybody who would like to see your slides presentation?
I can, yes.
Okay.
I was making sure. I might have to take, I don't know, I'll check with the parents about the Bitmoji. I might have to take their Bitmoji off just to be safe.
Oh, no problem. I'd love to hear what some of your kids thought about the project if they're willing to share.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Olivia.
I'd like to say this was an experience. Like, we're all proud of what we've done and how we've done it. It's like, it was like a weird experience, but it was for sure fun, and we all learned a lot from it.
So I'd like, excuse me, I'd like to ask a question of one of the students. So what was the most challenging part of this process for any of you? What's your biggest challenge?
I'd say being patient was one of the biggest challenges in it, because like the 3D printing, it just took a few days at most. It was hard to be patient, but we just had to deal with it.
Oh, that's a great share. Thank you, Olivia. Anyone else?
I think Caitlin had her hand up.
One of the biggest challenges for me was trying to keep things in place and trying to be able to model some of the clay parts that we had to put in our box.
Okay. So at the National Honors Hall of Fame in our educational programming, we call the process, you probably went through the create, test, and recreate. So you probably tried something first and saw it didn't work and retried it tested it and then recreated it. So that persistence is really nice way to move through a design challenge. So good for you for being patient, like Olivia said, and just working through those challenges. Anyone else?
Chris, were you going to share something? I heard you pipe in for a sec.
Yes. Hey, I wanted to ask the students if anybody wants to share, just what advice would you give to students that might want to try this next year and they went through what you just went through? What advice would you give them to help them be encouraged or to be successful when they get into this project? And Caitlin wants to answer. Go ahead.
Just be patient, like Olivia said, and just ask questions and be able to communicate with your group and give out other people's ideas and try to use them and things like that.
Awesome, thank you. And I think if I just wanted to share just some of the I likes. I just thought of this like a critical friends protocol. If you've ever gone through something like that, you know, I really liked the aspects of including the 4 C's. I think this was a cool project where you have the opportunity to be creative, to be imaginative, and it sounds like students had some ownership in what they were building and creating, and show their learning in different ways, which is pretty cool. And you know, I was just thinking about you know, the CAD modeling opportunity was one way to show their learning, and I thought that was really neat. Just using accessible materials, so for students in the classroom or students doing it virtually, I thought that was really, you know, a nice way to make the lesson, the project available to everyone, and you know, giving them some freedom of what's going to work best for their physical model. I think that's really great. The other part I thought was really neat too, and I was wondering what the students thought just about the connections to you know, not just maybe to other subjects or to other disciplines, but career connections, like the DNR folks, the parks recreation, really relevant you know, careers that are having these kinds of conversations, you know, about preservation and conservation and protecting wildlife. I just wonder what the students thought about that, having, you know, other experts being able to do the virtual calls, how they felt about that. Do they feel like they had a good takeaway from that, or is that something they might want to be interested in doing when they get older? Or if any students want to share?
I'm gonna restate your question. So he's wondering, with DNR presentation and writing the letter and the director writing y'all back, how did that affect your thought process of the project, as well as, are you interested in possibly a career now because you've kind of seen some things through that? Is that right, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
I see Caitlin with her hand up.
My family has always told me about how some people would go to the army and be a nurse, and thinking about it now, probably being able to take some of the things I learned today and things that I've learned throughout this whole entire project, being able to take that all with me and be able to help other people understand why wildlife is so important.
Great answer. Okay, I have a quick question. Was it hard? Because I heard Miss Elmore talk about like time, management and use of materials, which I know in a business world is a big thing. You got time crunch to meet those deadlines and you've got materials. What do you guys think were some of those parts of it that you didn't expect to be as hard? Oh, I saw the hands go up. Time, materials, maybe something you would change if you had more time or more materials. Abby, do you want to try to go first? Oh no, I can't hear Abby. Can y'all hear her?
We'll go to somebody else while we check her
Okay.
sound.
All right,
Okay.
Abigail, you want to go while we're trying to get Abby's sound working? Nope. Maybe I'll leave her.
It wasn't that hard the first time, I think, because it was just we were kind of testing out the different things for different budgets.
So the budget part of it, yeah. Caitlin, do you want to add to that?
One of the other hard things was that you have to be able to try to keep it. I have no clue what I'm trying to say at this point.
What did you say?
I don't know.
She'll come back. I know how you get that idea and then it runs away. I understand. Go ahead, Olivia. And then we're coming at you, Abby.
I'd like to say it was difficult at times. It was because we had a time limit and we had to switch up groups, so it was working with other people that was a little bit confusing. And another thing would be how we had like a cost limit on something, and we had to try to keep it under the limit. But other than that, it was an easy, fun experience.
Awesome. All right, Abby, baby. I know, figuring out all this tech, ladies. I'm right with you.
What was the question again?
Yeah, telling me about like the time constraints or the build materials, those types of things, kind of how you felt about those constraints.
Well, for starters, it was really stressful to like build everything in a certain amount of time. Especially since you had to brainstorm and then double check to make sure that everything would work with the type of design that you were trying to work with. And then making sure that you had the proper materials and that you didn't go over the budget. It was definitely stressful, to say the least.
Thank you for sharing. I'm glad we got your audio working. Caitlin, did you have something you wanted to add?
It's there and then it goes away.
It's okay. It's okay. I always like to hear, because I always ask my students, and I know Tracy, you and Chris probably do too, like, you know, what were the hard parts? What did you feel? Because in the business world, I hear all the time from the companies that I work with that like people have to learn to meet those deadlines and meet those budgets. And I love that you incorporated that with it. And the girls sound like it was a struggle, but they figured out their way through it, which is awesome.
Yeah, the first question was, or real money? We have to give you real money? I was like, no. Josh, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was curious what the students' reaction was. Like, did you expect a reply to your letters? And what did you think when you received a reply?
When we wrote them, it was really, I didn't think they were gonna respond, but when they did, it felt really good, and it felt like we accomplished something, and what we did was actually really good. And what he responded made us feel like we were successful in what we did.
I agree with everything Abby said, but to add on, I would like to say that whenever she told us that they wrote us all back, like we were all like, what? They wrote us back? Like we were all proud.
hearing about this project, I think that's one of the things I love is just when you have these outside experts come and talk to students, how much that brings value and meaning to their work, because they, you know, I think they're told, or they somehow they get the message that they can't really make a difference until they get older or they finish school or something like that, when that's not necessarily the case. You know, at young ages, they can start making an impact. You know, they can start making change. They can start creating a better world for us. And I feel like this is a great project to help do that. You know, in our classes, we're having the conversation about, you know, LEED certification and green construction, and the LEED organization actually awards points to earn certain credits. And I feel like one of the things they started doing is they're doing it to protect wildlife. And so organizations and businesses, and when they do construction, they can earn points to help protect wildlife. You know, if they're conserving water and doing these other things, you know, low light emission to help, you know, birds or animals that move around at night, things like that. They're getting credits for that. And so I think, you know, when students are seeing and doing the work, it's not necessarily, it's, you know, the knowledge that they're gaining, but the skills, the other outcomes, you know, the like Shawn said, the patience and the persistence and the budgeting and, you know, working together. There's a lot of other outcomes that come out of this, and I think that's awesome.
Yes, I agree with you. And I'm thankful for the National Inventors Hall of Fame, because their resources, check it out, because they have a lot of resources. And there are some videos that they have from the inductees that you can share with your students. Like our students watched, I can't remember his name, Don, but he did the innovated with the Bambi bucket for the water with the helicopters and all. And we also watched about that failures are good. It's okay, because that's, you know, you heard them, you know, struggling with patience and having to recreate things and all. But I think that's a good thing for them to see, because I mean, that we fail in life, but then we learn from those failures. And I think that's an important lesson.
I also think there's just a lot of great connections to maybe some of their other classes. You know, we're, as you know, project lead the way teacher, I think we incorporate all the disciplines. So I think coming into maybe your classroom, it's like, is this a science class? Is this an art class? You know what? And I think that's great. And I'm just wondering, you know, in terms of science teachers, I think they could, you know, have a great connection, especially with like predator versus prey. You know, the animals that they thought might be appropriate for the habitat, you know, is that sustainable in the long term? Do they have any predators or not? And then maybe there's a math connection there with, you know, population growth, and, you know, what happens when a population explodes or goes the other way, and, you know, there might be a die-off of a population. How does that affect the environment or the area there? And, you know, the geography, you know, what that is, you know, rainforest, savanna, grassland. You know, I feel like there's a lot of great connections, and what animals might be best for what, you know, type of space. I think there's a lot of there's a science, and there's also a social studies component there, I believe, too. So I think that's really awesome. And then you did an ELA connection with the Lorax. I thought that was great. But I think, you know, as for other levels too, you know, high school and beyond, what other novels or ELA connections could tie in with this? I'm just thinking there's probably a lot that, you know, have wildlife or animals involved in the story that would be a great extension or connection to this lesson.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with this lesson. I mean, you know, I took what the National Inventors Hall of Fame had and just kind of developed it into something that worked for us. But I feel like you could take parts of what I've done, you could tweak it like what you were saying, there's great suggestions there, and what Amy, and I mean, you could recreate this whole thing instead of a park. You could do, like you said, predator prey, sustainability, population growth. I mean, I think, oh, thank you, Shawn. I knew it was Don, I just couldn't remember his last name. You know, there's so many things that could be done with this. And it took us a month to get to where we were. And part of it was the 3D printing, waiting on that. But the other part was me being out for various things for STEM Educator of the Year and so forth, that, you know, it kind of delayed a little bit of things. But students, girls, I want y'all to answer to this, but I don't think they were ever bored. I think they looked forward to coming in to work on this. Olivia, you want to start?
Yes. It was fun, and we did different stuff a lot, so it wasn't like we had the same experience every single day in the same class. We all got to have our own fun and do our own little things, so we weren't bored necessarily.
It was definitely not boring. If like it was not boring. I looked forward to coming in every day so that I could just work with the group, you know, do some hands-on activities and stuff, because it's kind of my favorite thing to do. And I just feel like it was time well spent. And I was happy that I was able to do it.
Yeah, I agree with both Abby and Olivia. I like coming into the classroom every day and working on the project and getting something to do that's hands-on, and like with all of our creativity, like all of us could work together and build a part, and it was very fun.
And Chris, like you said, you know, they were all different. There was not a park alike at all. Those were just a few pictures that I could fit on a slide. But there's not a one that's alike. So there, you know, it was individualized by the groups. Caitlin, I'm gonna let you go, and then I'm gonna ask the group, y'all, because these are different groups of these girls, but maybe they could just kind of talk about their process of how they got to their design. Maybe that might help too. But Caitlin, go ahead.
The one thing that I was excited about coming into the class and everything was being able to show what I can do with my creativity and be able to just hang out with my friends and be able to express what we can all do together and things like that. But at the same time, see how to be able to design other things than design certain things every day.
It sounds like they were wearing a lot of different hats. They took on different roles, you know, whether it was a designer, engineer, or, you know, doing a budget, or, you know, managing a group. It sounds like they participated, were involved in lots of different ways, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and I did not assign roles, and I didn't do that on purpose because I wanted them in their group to kind of figure that out. And Olivia, will you answer on how y'all decided who was doing what and how y'all figured that out?
So for our group, we kind of all did a little bit of everything until we figured out who liked what, and then we would just like, Sanaya liked doing the clay, so she decided to do the clay. Abby liked doing the slides, so she did the slides. So me and Haley worked on the rest of the box. That way everyone could be doing something they liked instead of something that they didn't like, and if they could find that boring, which don't want that.
So it sounds like you guys found your strengths and focused on them, which is what you do a lot of times in a career. You find a career that is a strength, and then you make it part of your livelihood. So you guys are already learning that really early, which is awesome. Good job, ladies.
I love that. I just want to say I love that there's girls here representing, and I think that's awesome. To give them a voice, to empower them, to showcase and have an opportunity like this. I think that's awesome. So I'm proud of them for the courage and for sharing their experience.
Ms. Elmore,
And
I'm allowed to ask a question.
Yes, you may.
So, girls, y'all didn't think you'd get away with not getting a question from me, did you? I want to know what the most surprising takeaway was from this project for you. What was the thing that you didn't expect to learn that you learned from this particular project? And it doesn't have to be just the content stuff that y'all have been working on, but what's the most surprising thing that you took away from this project overall?
I was thinking that this project was going to be all about learning about wildlife and just the economy and how those things come together and just basically stuff about that. But instead we learned like how to work with a team and patience. And there were just so many other built-in lessons combined into this one lesson. It was amazing.
I agree with Abby, but I'd like to say that I feel like we learned more than we thought we would. We knew we were going to learn some stuff, but the amount we learned, we probably didn't expect.
I just want to say thank you. So thank you, Tracy, for taking this activity that we put forward as something for STEM Month and really putting that creativity and innovative thinking behind it. And thank you, ladies, for representing. I'm not closing us out. I'm just getting in my thank yous because this has been really, it reinforces that the reason all of these people are here to support you, that we're doing the right thing and that you're learning in a really fun and engaging way. And I guarantee this is going to be one of those activities that when you look back and someone says, what is one of the most memorable experiences in middle school? I would anticipate this would be one that you'll remember. So thank you so much for sharing and being brave to jump in here with all these adults that you don't know. So that was really great of you.
I just think it's awesome too that Mrs. Elmore gave, her students this opportunity. I think, it's not just, a classroom lesson or a project. I think there's a lot of value behind, the messages that I think she's trying to instill in her students about, caring for animals, caring for the environment, and how important and vital that is now more than ever, as we move into the future. So I just think that is really awesome. And I'm also thinking too how this can connect, or maybe a twist on this is the, it was a park project, creating a park, I believe. Is that right? But, this could also, I think, there's zoos, there's local zoos, around South Carolina. There's near me, there's the Greenville Zoo, and they are just building a new habitat that is better for the animals. And I feel like, that could be another extension to this is, not just, comparing what's the difference between a wildlife park versus a zoo, but, how you can still help and support animals, care for them, learn about them, and protect them for the future. So I was just thinking that, as Tracy was talking.
I agree, Chris, because I'm thinking the same way because we're in Charleston, and if anybody's been down here, the Low Country is booming with construction, and every time we lose a set of trees, the kids are like, well, where'd all the animals go? So again, using that as a jumping off point, like where do all these animals go? I mean, our deer population, our alligator population, they need a home. And so having the help the kids learn about those habitats, or where they could rehome even just one animal, so you could even take it down a little easier if a science teacher or wanted to collaborate and work on things. Lots of opportunities, lots of potential here. Tracy, I'm very impressed as well. Like, and I'm sitting here, and after she dropped the National Inventors Hall of Fame link, I can't help myself. I'm over here like, ooh, and there's another. This is a very, I've looked at it a little bit, but now I'm definitely gonna have to dive into this site a little bit more, Shawn, because there's a lot of very amazing resources on your site.
Well, thank you for that. And I will also say, I'm glad to hear you say you're in Charleston. So just to do a little plug for our programming. So it's not just a resource. We do complete turnkey, providing all the curriculum, all of the materials. So we're really supporting school districts across the country with teacher fatigue. And we know all the summer mandates and the learning recovery summer programming that's happening. So if I am being selfishly taking a little time to say, if you want more information, please reach out to me directly and I can share. But yes, lots of great resources on that link. Free, there's a whole STEM activity guide. Yeah, enjoy.
Yes, there's a lot on there. And, you know, I've talked about Learning Blade before, but on Learning Blade, I don't take a mission and just go straight through the mission. I kind of search through there and find what fits with what I'm teaching. And, you know, I shared that slide with you about Learning Blade and the several, I mean, there's even more activities that you can do for this wildlife challenge. You know, because we could get in even into the 3D printing part. And I mean, there's just lots on Learning Blade, but, you know, just finding those resources and putting it together to make it work for what you're teaching, I think makes learning more interesting for your students, definitely. And I appreciate these sources that are out there for us to use. The DNR presentation, you know, that interactive map that they had showing how the sea rises and that the habitats change and the animals lose, you know, either food supply or habitats or whatever and have to go somewhere else. I mean, that's perfect for your area, Amy. Erica, are you Erica that on DNR? Yes.
I am, yes. Thanks for having me today. But yeah, we were excited to give that presentation on Friday, and I was really excited just now to see how well it really fit into this project. I'll be honest, I didn't really know exactly what the whole project was, so I'm glad that it was a good fit.
Perfect. And we appreciate you very much. So check her out now. Amy, y'all got to connect there.
I'm just wondering too, like the connection of this project and our pandemic, you know, how quarantine has affected wildlife, where there were less people out. Or I think right now there's record, you know, like home construction. People are buying homes. It's a buyer's market. And so there's more residential construction. How is that affecting local wildlife? And, you know, with that, the impact of the future for that. You know, I also, on another note too, just the publishing piece, you know, with students having an option to post their work on social media, to talk about, you know, to share their work. I love that Tracy, you know, shared some different options, whether it was, you know, Canvas or Flipgrid or Canva or Flipgrid. I'm thinking this would be a great digital portfolio, or, you know, even like a Google site for parents to see how they started, where they end up. And I think that's a criteria for project-based learning too, is having some type of public product. And I think she has, you know, a lot of different examples for that. So good stuff. I just see a lot of extensions here that are awesome.
Yeah, thank you. One thing about Canva is that it allows you as a teacher to make a classroom. So the students will join that classroom, and so all their work is put in that one place. and they can see each other's work as well as going back to theirs. So that's a pretty cool addition that Canva has now. So that's something I wanted to share on that too. Do any of y'all want to talk about Canva, your experience on there?
Well, I'm not sure who's wrapping us up. We are headed to the top of the hour. If there was anything else, Tracy, that you wanted to add, I excuse me, feel that we've seen every facet of this. I know that there are so many more layers, but I thank you for letting me be part of this, and just really proud of what you were able to accomplish with this one little activity. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all and all your comments and suggestions, and this lesson unit, whatever you want to call it, can just be changed in so many different ways. And like Chris said, so many extensions and add-ons, and you can kind of pick and part, but it is a great vertical alignment platform because animals are throughout the state standards. So you're meeting them no matter what, and bringing the students from just knowing basic facts about animals to having, empathy for them. I think Olivia and Caitlin wanted to share just their experience real quick on Canva. So we'll let Olivia start.
Great.
Canva was kind of like, it was not like Instagram, but it was like Instagram because it was like the appropriate version because we got to have pictures, text, and we were able to make a post that would fit what we wanted our post to look like.
Canva was different for me because I never used it before, but then at the same time, you can pretty much put whatever you would really want to put on it, and it wouldn't be like a terrible type of present to people. And it was just something different that I thought was pretty cool to actually be able to use.
I'm not sure, is Patty still here? Patty Ann?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was just waiting to make sure everybody had their final word. I see a couple hands up. Are we all right? I think so. I just want to say thank you to Tracy, to Chris, to Amy, for all of those, and Shawn that were participating in this. I know it's rough. Everyone's getting a little zoomed out, and I'm so excited that we have this resource that we can put out there for other teachers that maybe this wasn't a good time for them to come and see it. So thank you so much. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful evening. And thanks for the South Carolina Council of Competitiveness for setting this up. We appreciate it.